All right, it is Monday, March 23rd, and I have moved everything that was in the center of the Quonset hut over to the northern side, and I finished power washing this center section down the middle. You can see the fan is going. It's getting dry. I think easily by tomorrow morning or maybe tomorrow afternoon it'll be completely dry, ready for the final coat of the aquamarine down the center. And that should finish me up for painting the floor in the Quonset hut. So I'm looking forward to getting that done, and I'm going to move on to a few other things I got to do today. Talk to you later. Alrighty, it is Tuesday, March 24th, and pretty nice weather around here these days. Getting some stuff done. I am almost done painting up these 4x4s that I got last weekend. One coat on one side left to go, and then I'll join the other ones over there and getting ready to be put into the garden. I actually have one installed today. I'm trying to do one a day just to make it's that guy right there. So I got him in today, and like I said, I'm trying to do just one a day so it's not too strenuous. But yesterday I did something I didn't record, so let me just show you what I've done for the plants that I'm going to plant this season. I cleaned out some of these smaller sections of the, I guess, vinyl gutters and put some mulch in them, or potting soil, whatever you want to call it. And then I planted the different seeds for the plants that I'm going to be planting. So I've got watermelon in this first one, pumpkins in the second one, and then sunflowers in the back one. All I did was after I cleaned it, I just taped up the sides with a little bit of duct tape just to keep things in and sealed up, and then that'll keep the soil in there. Seemed to work pretty much perfectly. So that's what I'm using to germinate my seeds. Get away from me, little bug. So that was what I kind of got done yesterday, but let's go down to the Quonset hut and I'll show you what I got done today. Be right back. All right, well, there it is. The floor has been completely painted, all except a little bit right here. I'm going to open the doors and leave them open during the day, which I'm not fond of because bugs are going to get in here, but I'm going to have to leave it open while I paint that for at least 8 hours while it dries enough, because the weather stripping along the bottom of the doors rubs along the floor here, so it's got to be at least semi-dry for me to be able to close the doors without screwing up the paint. Anyway, that's for another day. So I think it looks good. A couple of observations that I have had using this product. I would say it works pretty well. One of the things you really need to do is have the floor clean, obviously, and dry. But putting it on, my tendency was to roll it out thin, I guess maybe just to stretch the surface area that I'm covering with the paint. And I put a little bit of pressure on it when I'm rolling it, actually quite a bit of pressure. And I think that's a good thing, because you would be surprised. You roll out the paint on the floor, you roll over it a couple of times, and because it's so thick, it literally won't go into a lot of the little holes and cracks and stuff. So you really got to push it in there, at least the first coat. So I'm only doing one coat. So what I would do would be to roll it out, use a lot of pressure, and then come back and get another generous roll of the paint and go over it a second time where I had just painted with just a little bit more of the paint, just to give a slightly thicker coating. So that kind of makes it a little bit tricky to use, I guess, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad, and it goes on fairly quickly. Now, in here, I'm not trying to do some sort of high-end garage here where I need a perfect surface. But if you're going to use this particular product and you want a really high-end finish, there's a couple of things I think you really need to do, and I'll explain why. If you have any old paint on the concrete, you should remove it as much as possible. Secondary, if there's any oil stains on the concrete, you really need to deal with them. There's some products to get rid of oil stains, but I think the best thing to do is just maybe scrub it with some detergent and then rinse it off really well. There are some other products out there that I've seen used that supposedly will literally eat the oil into the concrete pores. It's like a powder that you put on there and just leave it on there for a week or so. And supposedly that works really well. So if there are any oil stains, you really need to deal with them. And then thirdly, if you're going to use this product for a high-end finish, like I said, I think you probably are going to need to do 2 coats. So you do the first coat with a thin coat of it, and then you really use a lot of pressure with the roller to get everything covered and into the little pits and cracks and stuff. And then definitely plan on doing a full second coat on top of the first coat, and use it a little bit more generously than the first coat. And then finally, once, and letting them dry 5 days in between, because I think when they say 5 days, they kind of really mean 5 days. But then after the second coat goes down and it's dry for 5 days, you're probably going to want to put some sort of clear coat over the top of it, because this paint does not really dry with any kind of sheen to it. It's more like a matte finish, which again is just perfectly fine for this. It's a workshop. I expect it to be abused and scraped, and so I'm not too worried about it. I did have about a half a gallon left over after doing this whole floor. I used 3.5 gallons, and this is about a 1,300 plus square feet. So you can kind of judge what the coverage is. So I think they're pretty close on their estimate of what each can will cover floor space wise. So then, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do the high-end stuff, you're going to need to do 2 coats and then a clear coat on top, and then again let that dry. But yeah, I think you could do a high-end finish with this if you really take your time and you do all the prep work. But otherwise, if you're not prepared to do that, that was just beyond the scope of what the work that I wanted to put into this floor. You should probably use maybe a different product, maybe one of those epoxy paints that you literally pour on and just spread out. I know they're a lot more expensive. This was fairly inexpensive, so if you're trying to do a high-end floor finish and you want something fairly inexpensive, but you're willing to put in the work, then I think this would probably work for you. Now, I can't attest to how long it'll last. I'll follow up on it, see how it holds up to the wear and tear of, things rolling around on it and, putting boards down and people dragging sand and stuff in there, and see if it, mars up the finish. But I've already noticed there's a couple of areas here, like I'll show you this one right here, where it just didn't stick to the floor. So my plan was to, once everything is dry, just sand this little area and then maybe do some sort of acid wash treatment on it to get whatever was under there that the paint wasn't sticking to it off, and then do another coat of it. Like I said, it does cover pretty well. on the first coat if you only wanted to do one coat, but I did notice that I could see some black magic marker lines that I had put on the floor when I was laying out the carriage doors. There was like a square box here. So I went over that with a second coat, and that seems to pretty much cover it. You really got to strain to see it at that point. So that's my thoughts on this garage floor paint. Let me just show you the can one more time. It's a Rust-Oleum product called Concrete and Garage 1-part epoxy floor paint and primer. So that's the stuff that I use. And again, I went over this, and if it says deep tint base in this bottom rectangle, you've got to have it tinted by them at the store, because otherwise it's just clear or white. And there is some on the shelves that might say something like Battleship Gray. If it's an actual color that's listed in here, then it already comes pre-tinted, so that's the color. But it's, if you just pull this off the shelf, it's not a blue, it's white, and they have to tint it. Okay, well, that's it. I'm glad I'm finished with this. I've got a little touch-up to do, on the floor there, but otherwise, quite happy with the result. All right, well, that's it for today. Talk to you tomorrow. All right, it is Thursday, March 26th. And while I've been waiting for the Quonset Hut floor paint to dry, I've been doing some odd jobs, some manual labor jobs, so mostly just digging, to be honest. So let me turn this around, show you what's going on in the vineyard here. All right, so I've got my first 12-foot or 11-foot furrow done. There'll be some, let me back this out a little. That'll be the first place I plant some sunflowers. And I've got these 3 posts in, and then I've got these holes dug for the next 3 to go in. And they're all ready. I mean, they've been painted 3 coats. They're dry. I can put them in anytime. So they'll probably go in tomorrow morning, or at least 1 or 2 of them. I'm trying to do 1 a day. So that's what's going on with the vineyard. And I made a few more of the little chicken wire tunnels that'll go over the sunflowers, at least for the first month or so, while they get large enough so that they can withstand an attack by squirrels and such. So, all right, and then over here, I didn't realize this last year when I moved in, but there is hibiscus bushes planted all around this tree here, and it's really very overgrown through here. And so I started today digging a circle around here. My intention is to put some big like blocks around the whole tree and then fill in the center section with mulch. So I've started digging that out and getting rid of some of this extra brush that's grown up in there. These bushes, they're everywhere. I mean, they're just horrible, but not nice to look at, not nice to deal with, not nice to dig out. It's just nasty stuff. So I'm trying to get it down to just the hibiscus, and then get rit of all this other stuff here, and then put some like red mulch down and border it with like some bricks, kind of like the fire pit bricks. I'd like to get them actually a little bigger. I don't know if they have them bigger or not, but if I can find bigger ones, I'd use those. And look at this tree. I just noticed this the other day. The two branches, well, the one branch and the other vertical have grown together. They're like one big piece. It looks like the thing on Star Trek on the episode The City on the Edge of Forever, where they jump through it and it takes them back into another time. So pretty cool. Never noticed that before until just recently. So that's pretty much what's going on today. I did go into the Quonset hut and the floor is looking good. I did walk on it a little bit, but tomorrow I think it'll be fine for walking on. That'll be a good 3 solid days. And, you know, then I can get my other tools and get back to some of the other projects that I've been working on. All right, that's going to do it for Thursday. Talk to you tomorrow. We'll wrap up the week. Well, it's Friday morning, March 27th, and I was getting a little worried. I mean, I'm not someone with a green thumb, but it's been a while since I've had these grapevines in the ground, and all I could see was like sticks. And I think I paid like $200 for some sticks to throw in the ground. But I came out this morning and I saw the first little leaves starting to show up on the grapevine. So let me show you what I've got here. Let's see, which one was it? Not that one. I think it was this one. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Zoom in there. First little leaves showing up on the grapevines. So I got 1, 2, 3 leaves. And then I think over here, is it this one? No, nothing on that one yet. There was another one. No. Ah, here we go. There's a couple of leaves starting to sprout on this one. So I would think in the next 4 or 5 days, I ought to see some little green shoots on all of my grapevines. Are there any here? Yeah, there's one. Right. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. Right there. All right, so I just wanted to share that. Finally, something's actually growing. All right, talk to you later. Friday, March 27th, late in the afternoon. I think I'm going to wrap it up a little bit early today because I did a lot of physical labor. So, what got done? Well, let's flip this around. Sorry about the sun. It's really coming from the west now, so it's hard to stay out of it. All right, flip around. All right, I got 3 more of the posts in for the vineyard. That was good. I dug the holes the other day. Just put them in today. 1, 2, and 3. I got 3 more to do here on this last row. That's all I'm going to do for this season. And then on the ends, I have to do 10 footers, but I need a trailer to carry them back from Lowe's. So at some point I'll have to rent a trailer to get the remaining 10 footers. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the other side. And that should really wrap me up for this season. I'm not going to put grapes in on these rows. I'm just going to do sunflowers and some watermelons and pumpkins. I did get another furrow going here. I got to sort of turn over that soil, get it ready for the seeds. And down here, I did make some progress clearing out what was below this tree. I think I'm about, I don't know, halfway done. It's looking a lot better. And it's a pretty big area. It doesn't look that big, but it's actually pretty big. So I got this other side here to do. It's still pretty bad. And then of course I got to clean up all these piles. So yeah, a lot of work left to do. See, that's the messy side. But making pretty good progress. Not too bad. I'm happy with it. And that's pretty much going to wrap me up for the week. Oh, one more thing. Like I said earlier, I'm not really a guy with a very green thumb, but let's go take a look at the seeds that I planted. I'm seeing some growth, some germination of the sunflower seeds, but I'm not seeing anything with the pumpkins or the watermelons. They say it takes about 3 to 5 days. Well, you know, we're getting there. I see nothing so far. So let's see here. That's definitely sunflowers here, there. And you may not be able to see it, but I can see some there, some over here, and maybe one there and there. So yeah, they're starting to come up, but absolutely nothing on the watermelon or the pumpkins. I can see all the pumpkin seeds, but I don't see anything sprouting from them. All right, well, hopefully by Monday, we should see something sprouting in both the watermelon and the pumpkin tray there. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me for the week. I'll talk to you next week. Take care. Bye.